Meet Rodney. Rodney works in receiving, unpacking boxes and crates. Rodney is always emptying the crate before he breaks it down, even though it would be easier on his back if he just removed the items on top, then removed a side to reach the parts in the bottom. One day, Rodney reached for a 50-pound part at the bottom of a crate, and he couldn't straighten up. The doctor told him he'd strained his lower back. Rodney knew better, but he'd figured he'd always done it that way and never had a problem so far. Sound familiar? How many times have you said the same thing and regretted it later? Evidently, you're not alone. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, strains and sprains, which are overexertion injuries that happen when you slip, trip, fall, or overdo it, are among the most common cause of work-related injuries in the U.S. They carry a high price tag, especially for workers like Rodney and Max, who depend on their bodies for their livelihoods. Max is a material handler in the same plant. He moves vital parts and materials from one station to another all day long. One day he wasn't thinking. He was walking along juggling 4 boxes when one started to fall. Turns out Max strained his shoulder, bad, an injury that sidelined him for 6 months, not to mention caused some serious pain. Some people say you can pretty much predict a company's safety record when you look down at the plant floor. Sally is an assembly line worker. Look around the area where she works every day. Notice the parts, packing materials, and screws all scattered across her work area. Oh, and the coffee she spilled earlier. Not surprisingly, Sally slipped one day and tore the ligament in her knee. Even after surgery, it was a long time before she walked without significant pain. It's easy to figure out why workers in general industry are among those with the highest incidence of occupational injuries in the U.S. Think lifting, pushing, pulling, holding, walking, carrying, and throwing. All those moves you make in a typical day on the job, and the moves you don't intend to make, those slips, trips, and falls. Fortunately, solutions aren't that complicated either. In fact, strains and sprains are not inevitable, nor are they just what happens when you get old. Truth is, these injuries don't have to happen. They're preventable when you know how to use your body correctly and stay in balance. What is a strain? Strains or pulled muscles occur when you twist, pull, or tear a muscle or tendon, which is the tissue that connects muscle to bone. Strains sound like no big deal, but a muscle strain in your hamstring, the muscle that allows you to flex your knee and extend your hip, can sideline you for up to 6 months. What is a sprain? A sprain happens when you tear or overextend a ligament, which are the tough bands of tissue that hold bones together. Strains and sprains can happen from a single stressful event, like a slip, trip, or fall. Or they happen when you get out of balance and work beyond your physical capacity. When you overdo it, you put your body under too much stress. Under stress, muscles and joints can perform motions they're not designed or prepared for. Some common examples include sprained ankles from stepping down awkwardly from one level to another, back spasms from repeated lifting or lifting improperly, shoulder muscle strains from working overhead for extended periods, and elbow strains from using vibrating tools like this drill with your elbow in the air. Since each one of us has different tolerances, some of us get away with this kind of repeated physical stress longer than others. Oh, you may have some aches and pains and sleepless nights, but nothing you can't ignore, right? That's the problem. When we ignore our body's messages and keep pushing through the pain, we can do serious damage. Anytime you stress your body, your muscles get fatigued and tiny micro tears begin to show up in muscle fibers. Keep doing the same thing the same way over and over without time for your body to rest and recuperate, and these micro tears can't heal. The result? Eventually, that 45-pound box of copy paper is the straw that strains the worker's back. Specific risk factors contribute to sprains and strains injuries. Slips, trips, and falls. When you lose traction or trip over uneven ridges in the floor, maybe even hoses and cords strung across walkways in production areas. Poor housekeeping is a common cause of slips and trips. For example, water tracked in from outside on rainy days. liquid on the floor, like spilled ketchup in the cafeteria, or water from mopping, grease and oil leaks from machinery that no one took the time to clean up, and clutter that trips you up when you're not paying attention. Not all trips and slips cause falls, but many cause serious strains and sprains when workers try to right themselves. Take it from Sally, who learned the hard way that you can do a lot of damage to yourself before you even hit the ground. Heavy lifting and use of extreme force is another common cause of sprains and strains. For example, frequent lifting, pushing, or carrying heavy loads, or carrying them for long distances, that put high levels of stress on muscles, especially your back and upper limbs. Finally, repetitive or sustained movements, like reaching, lifting, and carrying over and over again, or working in one fixed position for a long time, all cause sprains and strains. A good example is carrying a heavy box for a long distance through a plant, or continuously bending your back on an assembly line that's too low. When posture is awkward, repetitive movements are even more of a problem. Painting a ceiling with a roller is an example of repetitive movement in an awkward posture. So is using a pistol grip drill on a workbench when your elbow is up in the air. To protect your body, you need to use good judgment. Figure out how you can work in a way that puts the least amount of stress on your body. It's called neutral posture. Notice the spine is relaxed and the natural S-curve distributes body weight evenly. From the side, neutral posture looks like this. Imagine a plumb line suspended above you and hanging down through the center of your body. Your neck, shoulders, hips, and the front of your ankles all line up, balancing the center of your body above your sacrum, your base of support. Your upper arms are at your sides and your wrists are relatively straight. In this posture, the human body is able to work at peak performance. The more time you spend in neutral posture, the less likely an injury. Move out of neutral posture and you put stress on your body. Does your job require you to work outside of neutral posture? Then take a reverse stretch period every hour to release muscles and tendons. The reverse stretch moves your spine back into natural neutral posture, so muscles, tendons, and ligaments don't overstretch. If you've been bending forward, support your back like this and bend backwards for a few seconds. If you've been reaching up, drop forward gently, gripping a solid object to balance yourself. Or with hands on your knees for support, lean forward and don't bounce. Stretch your fingers out if you've been using them to grip a tool or object. Stretch your shoulders by gripping an elbow and moving it toward the opposite shoulder. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, nearly 160,000 workers are injured every year by lifting the wrong way. These injuries that can affect your back as well as your hips, shoulders, lower limbs, even your ankles, don't have to happen if you lift the right way. Before you lift, size up the load. This is not the time to be Superman or Superwoman. Lift only as much as you can safely handle by yourself. Even with the best conditioning and training, this is generally about 50 pounds for men and 30 pounds for women. If it's too big, separate it into several pieces or ask a coworker for help. Or you can use a device like a cart or a dolly. Next, survey your route. Look for hazards like spills on external pathways, floors with uneven ridges, or clutter. Clear aisles and doorways for safe passage and to maneuver equipment. Then you're ready to assume proper lifting position. Stand close to the load. With firm footing, center your body. Keep both feet flat, knees bent slightly. With your feet shoulder-width apart, put one foot ahead of the other to form a stable foundation. Bending at the hips, lean over your forward leg, making sure to keep your spine in the neutral S-curve position. Keep the center of whatever you'll be lifting inside your safety zone. This is the area directly in front of your body, from mid-thigh to shoulder height, extending about the length of your forearm and hand. When you bend to lift something below the safety zone, spinal discs and muscles of your lower back have to support the weight of your upper body, typically 2/3 of your body weight. Take Rodney. Another one of his habits is this. Instead of supporting himself with one hand on the side of the crate, he bends headfirst into 3-foot crates to lift out the parts. This suspends his entire upper body weight, 2/3 of his body weight, or about 120 pounds, from his lower back, putting a heavy load on spinal discs. Add to those 120 pounds the 50-pound part he tries to lift, and you may understand why Rodney hurt his back in the first place. If you're going to lift from a crate, use the side of the crate to support one hand, or dismantle the crate before you move the part. When lifting, get a secure grip on the load using your palms, not just your fingers, and slide it close to your body. Let your legs do the lifting, not your back. Legs have the largest muscles, so it makes sense to let them do the lifting. Remember to exhale as you lift. Holding your breath adds unnecessary stress. Lift the load straight up, making sure you don't twist. Use smooth, even motions and avoid jerking. Jerky movements can add stress to the lift and cause you to pull muscles in your lower back. Reverse the procedure to put down the load you lifted. Get in position, bending your knees and not your back, and carefully let go of the load. Don't twist. If you're lifting from the ground, drop to one knee and lift the load to balance it on your knee. Pause, adjust your grip, exhale, and then come up to a standing position. Again, make sure you hold the load close to your body in your safety zone. Before carrying a load, always test for stability and weight. Is the object difficult to bring close to your body because of its size, bulk, or shape? You may need help. It's always easier on your body to slide, push, or roll if possible. If not, keep loads close to your body. Avoid bending or lifting upward unnecessarily. Avoid carrying large or bulky loads that limit or obstruct your vision. You want a clear view of the path. If possible, use 2 hands to carry containers, or if you have to use one hand, alternate hands. If you need to make a turn when you're carrying a load, aim 1 foot in the new direction and use your feet, not your waist, to pivot or walk out the turn. Remember to keep your hips in line with your shoulders. Twisting while carrying a load is one of the most common ways people injure their backs. Try to avoid lifting heavy loads above your shoulders. If you do have to lift a heavier load like this, make sure to keep it centered between your shoulders. And don't reach and lift. If something's too far away to lift using proper technique, don't lean way over and try to lift it. You're putting a lot more stress on your back this way. Instead, find another way to get closer to the load, then lift it correctly. Take a look at this scale. Not surprisingly, the workers who stay in balance tend to work at peak performance and, surprise, don't get injured. On one side of the scale are the things we do that contribute to injuries: poor posture, improper lifting, repetitive motions, stress, poor nutrition, and not getting the R&R we need to repair our body after a long day's work. On the other side of the scale are those things that keep us in balance: good nutrition, a good night's sleep, exercise, stretching, good posture, learning to work in neutral zone, and working in our safety zone. Keep your eye on this scale and pay attention to your body's messages. You need to know when you're getting out of balance, which is going downhill from peak performance to fatigue, discomfort, serious pain, and finally, a lost time injury. Stop yourself before you start spiraling down. It starts with fatigue. That's your first clue that you're starting to spiral down. Take Pete. Pete is a mechanic who tends to procrastinate. He schedules his own work, but always puts the difficult jobs off until late in the shift. Not good. You want to schedule strenuous work early in the shift if possible, before fatigue sets in. Late one afternoon, Pete had to rebuild a bearing house. He was tired, and when he tried to lift it, he strained his lower back. Now he's in nearly constant pain, and he can't even ride in the car to go fishing with his buddies. If you depend on your body for your livelihood, like most of us, you're a lot like a professional athlete. Treat yourself like one. Spend time every day getting yourself into condition so you can work at peak performance. That means regular exercise, a sensible diet, and adequate rest. Experts tell us if your muscles or ligaments have weakened over time from lack of exercise, you're more apt to get a strain or sprain than if you're physically fit. Take opportunities to stretch throughout the day. Once every hour, take 2 minutes to stretch your muscles. This increases circulation and allows blood and oxygen to feed your muscles and nerves. Shorter, more frequent breaks help prevent fatigue better than longer, less frequent ones. Help your body relax by letting your shoulders and neck muscles go limp. Then swivel your head or arms or flex your hands and fingers. And when you overdo it, don't keep stressing and straining your back and your muscles. Most of us ignore our body's messages and continue pushing through the pain until it gets serious. Know the symptoms of back pain. Since most injuries develop gradually over time, you can ward off serious problems if you learn to watch for warning signs. First, watch for muscle fatigue or aching that doesn't go away with rest. That's a common warning sign. Other symptoms include numbness, burning, stiffness, and tingling that go away if you stop what you were doing. And notice any decreased range of motion. Take it from Max. If you can't move your forearm up over your head, you have a problem. The sooner you get help, the better your chances of a fast recovery. Seek medical attention if you notice recurrent pain or discomfort. Don't put unnecessary strain on your body, like Sheila here. Sheila is a delivery driver. She has a bad habit of jumping down out of her truck instead of climbing down. It was only a matter of time. She came down just a little crooked one day. The result? A sprained ankle. Exit your vehicle carefully. Check for appropriate clearance, then step out slowly, watching for slick areas or uneven ground. Never jump from the vehicle. Stay in neutral posture as much as you can, and when you have to work outside it, change positions often and reverse stretch. Lift the right way and sidestep painful back injuries by working in your safety zone. Take it from Rodney. Just because you've always done it a certain way doesn't make it the smartest way. Size up your task before you lift, and don't try to be a hero. And keep your work area clear of clutter. Take it from Sally. It's far easier to remove the slip and trip hazards than to ignore them. Keep your mind on the job, but always with an eye out for hazards in your path, and do something about them. Each one of these workers learned the hard way that it's not what you're doing, but how you do it. Stay in balance and keep tuned into your body's signals. Work in neutral posture and stay in your safety zone. Finally, take care of the most important tool you have, your body.